What's going on, everyone? I'm just typical Canadian. No, I joke. Hi, this is welcome to North Omega. My name is Pierre Shields. Today, really cool. We're going to take a look at a reaction by Tyler Bucket on an incident that happened with our fantastic ambassador from the United States, Pete Hoekstra, whatever. It's horrible. I mean, no, actually, it's not horrible. It's great for YouTubers. This guy is a fountain of horrible nastiness and misinformation. He's making Canadians more and more Canadian. He's making us more and more patriotic. I've never seen Quebecers as patriotic to Canada as what's happening now. Fantastic. I guess we should thank Trump and Pete Hoekstra for waking us up. Did I say Hoekstra? Pete for waking us up. Thank you. Couldn't feel more Canadian.
What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical average American here today to react to some very recent and disturbing news. So apparently, the U.S. ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra, has done...
Pronounced Pete, I believe, Tyler.
...done something again. And I say again because I did a video about a month ago on this guy. You know, he's supposed to represent America, represents me, for crying out loud. But he was complaining and really whining about Canadians being upset with the United States, which is just ridiculous. I mean, but that
poor little snowflake was whining.
That was a video I made a month ago. You can check that out if you're interested. But apparently, he's in the news again for something about swearing? I don't know. I mean, you can't make this up. This is actually the real world that we live in. So let's take a look.
We begin on that profanity-filled rant by U.S. Ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra. Hoekstra was at a high-profile event in Ottawa Monday meant to celebrate the Canada-U.S. relationship. But sources tell CBC News the ambassador had some choice words for Ontario's trade representative about the province's anti-tariff ad. The CBC's Ashley Burke joins
me. What are we talking about? This is not real life. I still, you can't. Oh my goodness.
Don't forget that Pete is someone at the Netherlands kind of embarrassed and called his bluff and caught him in his lies. Google Pete in Netherlands. There's great stuff in Google. Maybe YouTube is better. Yeah. Sorry, Tyler. Keep interrupting.
Maybe I should be thanking Pete or something, really thanking him for all this juicy, moronic content that he just gives us to, if it was just entertainment, that'd be one thing. That'd be like, this is kind of funny, but this is like really, really consequential and really, really bad. This is outrageous.
It is.
I mean, you don't need me to say that. I mean, anybody with half a brain can look at this and be like, the American representative, the ambassador to Canada, says he's in Ottawa. He lashed out at Ontario's trade representative, and he was swearing and cursing at him? Are you kidding me? This is like a movie.
If I'm not mistaken, I saw someplace that his wife was apologizing to everybody behind him. Wow, it's pretty horrible when you need somebody to clean up after you. Allegedly, in my opinion.
This isn't supposed to be how people act in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. Is there any video of this whole thing? That would be, is there any video of that'd be something. Tell us there's some video of him doing this, because he deserves to be utterly embarrassed for this.
Now with more on this. So Ashley, this is the talk of the town. Now tell us what happened exactly at this event.
I don't watch that much like regular television. I watch Netflix and YouTube, so I don't see like a ton of the mainstream American news, but I haven't heard or seen anything, at a glance or anything like on my phone about this really. Like, this is not huge news in the United States, which is
What a surprise. Americans aren't talking about how their ambassador in Canada is being insulting to us. Yeah. And no, we can't watch it on Netflix because Canadians have gotten rid of Netflix, right? Because it's American. We have Crave, though, which is pretty cool. Shout out to Crave. CBC, I've got in my comments, it's kind of funny. In my comments, I've gotten things like, CBC is a shell for the communist government and all this other stuff. And CTV is owned by George Soros and whatever. Just absolute craziness. But I find CBC has been one of the places that is called bullshit the most. I've seen some interviewers, some Canadian YouTube interviews, YouTubers in Canada interviewing Pete Hoekstra, and they were very softball. They were very friendly and softball. In my humble opinion, I don't think that's the way to deal with these kinds of bullies, by being humble and softball. And we're Canadian, so we're seen as being polite, but people often mistake that with being meek. Anyway, he's a horrible human being, allegedly, in my opinion. Not Tyler. Tyler's great. I'm talking about Pete. What's his name?
embarrassing in a totally different way, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, David, CBC News learned that the U.S. ambassador to Canada went on a tirade aimed at Ontario's trade minister. A witness says that he could be heard swearing, using the F word, and mentioning Doug Ford, his name. And that it appears that Pete Hoekstra was upset about this Ontario ad, this anti-tariff ad that's been playing in the U.S.
A quick interruption again. Couldn't care less if he's using the F-bomb. We hear Trump using it. We hear all these other politicians starting to use it because, they think it makes them sound tough. Couldn't care less. It's the message behind it. It's the arrogance. It's the being upset at us because we retaliate when somebody punches you in the face. What are you going to do? Sit down and cry? It's not very Canadian.
I'm reporting on it a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. I did a video looking at that ad that got Trump really, really mad. And now Trump is basing our entire trade policy on some random Ronald Reagan ad, which is great. It's just this behavior from like Trump and Pete Hoekstra. I think the worst thing about it is somehow here in America, this behavior has been normalized. It's not major, it's Trump, canceling trade negotiations with Canada. That was major news in America. Don't get me wrong. But it's the behavior he's showing and that Pete Hoekstra did here towards Canada. It's not like people are not outraged enough in America. I guess that's my problem. People don't really care enough. Like this behavior, this crazy behavior is becoming too normalized in America, where it's not even like no one's even that surprised, or really, this didn't even really make the news that much, apparently, here. This is the first I'm hearing about it in detail.
I can also see that in my comments. People who, are quoting blatant lies and they've been gaslit. And critical thinking, gullibility, those are kind of the words that. But I know there's millions upon millions upon millions of Americans that disagree with what's going on right now. Though what really freaks me out, absolutely freaks me out, is that he's still over, 37% in net popularity? Who the heck are those millions and millions of people? I don't get it.
So that's a big, big problem that I've noticed.
The same one. It's the one that uses former Republican President Ronald Reagan's voice. It's the one that angered Donald Trump to the point where he says he was terminating trade talks and threatened a new additional 10% tariff on Canadian goods.
So let me get this straight. The U.S. ambassador to Canada, the person whose job, their reason for existing is to, facilitate the relationship between Canada and the United States. And that, I would think it goes without saying that he's supposed to encourage and facilitate the relationship in a positive way. but you wouldn't know it based on his behavior. This guy seems totally unhinged. This is the second time that he has gone on some crazy.
Everywhere he goes, he upsets Canadians. He says that, business people are whispering to him, we're really upset about this. We're really upset about not dealing with the Americans, and we'd love to go back to the way things were and so on. But he says he's upset that nobody's saying that out loud, because nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying that. We trusted our American neighbors, and we got stabbed in the back. That's the negotiation. Again, how do you negotiate? Well, there's two things you balance, eh? How much do you want to win, and how much do you want to save the relationship? So after we get banged, there's no relationship to save. So it's all negotiation. But what's going to happen is there's going to be horrible taste left in our mouth for years. This is generational. There's always the dink who's going to go to the U.S. anyway because they're like, "Ooh, there's nobody here since the Canadians aren't here. Well, let's go down to the U.S. Woo-hoo-hoo." But those people, there's always dinks everywhere, allegedly, in my opinion.
Crazy rant that I know about. Think about the stuff that's not even caught on camera or that no one talks about behind closed doors. This is the second time publicly that it's been a news story that the U.S. ambassador is going off on unhinged rants against Canada. He's supposed to represent Americans. This is embarrassing. There's no way around it. It's embarrassing for all Americans. All Americans should be upset about this. This behavior, acting like a child, swearing and saying the F word towards a Canadian professional government representative or trade representative, it's outrageous. He should lose his job over this. Right? Right.
And how many people are calling for that exactly? Let's go back.
I don't think that's out of line. If any other job, maybe because he's in the government, or if Trump appointed him, maybe he's not going to get fired for this. I don't know. But any other job, if you do such a horrible job at what you're supposed to do, literally the opposite of what he's supposed to do, he is dividing Canada and the United States. He's dividing us. He's causing more turmoil and more problems.
But what's really cool is he's really bringing Canadians together. I've never seen Quebec people be so pro-Canada. It's fantastic. Again, as a Gen X, I've seen a lot of stuff happen over the decades, and I would have never expected this. But maybe, as my children say, I live in a bubble.
That is the literal opposite of his job. I mean, you can't make it up. Obviously, he's not good at this. Obviously, he shouldn't have this job. I think that is so apparent, but I doubt anything's going to happen.
And this latest incident involving the U.S. ambassador, as you mentioned, it happened here in Ottawa on Monday at this really high-profile event that's attended by a lot of people in Ottawa and D.C. And normally at the event, there is a joint toast with the U.S. and Canada's ambassador, where they deliver some remarks.
Okay.
And this year, sources say just one person was up doing that speech this year and that toast, and that was the Canadian side, just showing you how tense the whole situation is right.
So the Canadians are taking the high road and actually acting professional.
Tyler, I know you know this, but you can't buy class. You can't buy class. You can have a lot of money, but doesn't mean you have class. So horrible. Let's back this up just a tad. There we go.
As that speech this year and that toast, and that was the Canadian side, just showing you how tense the whole situation is right.
So the Canadians are taking the high road and actually acting professional, and do they're supposed to be this ceremonial toast, and only the Canadians are doing it. And was Pete supposed to do it, or Americans, and they didn't do their part of the toast? This is so freaking bad.
And it's really petty as well. It's really petty. And as Tyler was saying, this guy's probably not going to lose his job. As a matter of fact, pettiness, meanness, nastiness, I think is a prerequisite for being part of the administration right now. It's not a bug, it's a feature.
Yes, now Canada and the U.S. has a pretty complicated relationship, especially trade relationship. But another part of me is like, it really doesn't have to be this bad. It's not that complicated. Like, America, just stop trolling. Seriously. Like, I think there's that's the easiest way to put it. Stop trolling Canada. Stop going to high profile events. Is it that hard to not go off on unhinged rants where you swear? This is a room full of Canadians. Like, he felt that comfortable going in there to Ottawa in Canada and embarrassing himself and America like this. He is way too comfortable. Like, that means he doesn't care at all. Like, based on what I can see, it's like he doesn't care. Or he's letting his personal ego get into it, or I don't know what, but clearly not fit for this position.
Right. Okay. So Pete Hoekstra is berating David Patterson, the Ontario trade representative to Washington, and coarse language was used. And then there was no joint toast as we tipped.
The only time I've ever seen politicians kind of berate somebody was in the White House with Zelensky. I think that meeting set the tone for all of Trump's sycophants, so that they saw how they should behave and what's acceptable and what's not in the new world of craziness.
We see it, these things.
Crazy. This is even worse than I thought. I just knew there was some crazy thing that happened with Pete Hoekstra again. This is worse somehow than when he was berating Canadians in general for being upset with America. How dare you be upset with us? Now sit there and listen while an American tells you how dumb you are. But don't you dare be upset with us. Don't you dare. Just sit there. Don't you dare resist any of our attempts to ruin your economy or your way of life or take over Canada or say anything. Don't you dare. It's very mean and rude. Only we get to do that. This is the article about it. U.S. ambassador goes on an expletive-laced tirade at Ontario's trade representative. So there's only witnesses. Oh, my God. Somebody whip out your cell phone. Somebody get this on camera. My God, this video would have been very damning for one thing, but also like the least having a video would have been better. It really would have made him look like an idiot, like a tool. Instead, hearing about it is bad enough. He delivered the expletive-laced tirade, Ottawa on Monday. Word has spread quickly. Like, it's just a complete and utter, like, what do Canadians even think of Americans after this kind of thing? That we are the most disrespectful, incompetent.
It's not what we think of Americans. It's really not what we think of Americans. It's what we think of MAGA, which, as we all know, is not all Americans. And it seems to be less and less, or fewer and fewer Americans, really.
Like, morons that you've ever... Like, based on our ambassador, based on our representative, I could hardly blame you for thinking that. It's really a shame. This is really a travesty. For the U.S., like, it's embarrassing, to say the least. It was a network that was supposed to celebrate the Canada-U.S. relationship. This is just ironic on so many different levels, but it's not even funny. Like, it's too backwards. This was supposed to be an opportunity for people like Pete Hoekstra to make a good impression, to facilitate, diplomacy between our countries. And it turned into this. This has taken over the whole event. This is all anybody's going to take away from this. There were witnesses. It's like it was a murder. Witnesses appeared upset. Oh, they said Hoekstra was really upset about the anti-tariff ad. Get over it, man. Like, it's like a child. Like, okay, you can have your opinions on an anti-tariff ad. I'm surprised Trump and him are even so upset about it.
It's crazy. We were threatened with economic war. Economic war. And annexation. We've been threatened with that. Then, it's just a joke. We don't see that as a joke.
not even an ad that's that anti-Trump. It's not like Trump in clown makeup or something. It's just really an ad about tariffs using a bunch of quotes that Ronald Reagan did say. It's just like expressing an opinion about tariffs. Like, some people don't like them. Some people think they're good. It's okay. Like, it's whatever happened to just like normal discussion and debates and having different points of view? Like, this anti-tariff ad is literally driving Trump and Hoekstra insane. Like, surprisingly more than I would have thought.
Driving Hoekstra and Trump insane. I think a train's already left the station, to be frank.
Hoekstra was using the F word and mentioned Doug Ford. My God. Ford urges the U.S. ambassador to apologize. Oh, there's a video. Okay. What's this?
The Globe and Mail has a piece that speaks about Ambassador Hoekstra, to use a blunt phrase, cursing out your Ontario representative in the United States at a meeting. What do you say to that? This was related to your advertisement related to Donald Reagan. What's your response to Ambassador Hoekstra's words?
Yeah. What?
Come on, Ambassador. He's a guy. You know something? I like him. Pete, you got to call Dave up and apologize. It's simple.
Okay, that's not what I expected. Doug Ford likes Pete Hoekstra. Maybe Pete's a swell guy, like when you get to know him and play poker and have a beer or whatever. But based on everything I have seen, he's quite literally the opposite of a nice guy. Anyway, whatever. Maybe he's just being nice.
I like him. Pete, you got to call Dave up and apologize. It's simple. You know, the cheese slipped off the cracker. I get it. You're tipped off. But call the guy up.
The cheese slipped off the cracker. Like his brain fell out of his head. No, like, don't. I think this is being a little too generous, actually. This is like a little too nice. Yes, he should absolutely apologize to that guy, that Canadian representative that he was directly verbally attacking. He should absolutely apologize to him at the very least. I think at best he should resign and like give up his job. Seriously, like this is embarrassing.
And Dave's my champion. The guy is just instrumental in these trade deals down in Washington. And you know, some people get hot, they get heated. I get heated sometimes, but just call the guy up and bury the hatchet, because the ambassador's a good guy. Actually, I love Dave.
Wow,
I like the ambassador, so he knows what to do.
What?
Pete, you've been around for before Moses. Call the guy up and apologize and start getting back on track.
Well, that's a very graceful language from the Ontario Premier. Yeah. That's a lot of grace, a lot of understanding, more than I have the patience for, to be honest. The idea that Canadian representative deserves an apology, that's like the very least. And he's really making this almost seem like, Pete Hoekstra is having a beef with this one Canadian. I really see this as like much bigger. Like, Canadians are going to take away like something from this, an idea about what Americans are like, what the American ambassador is like, and it's negative. So this has been so harmful on such a bigger level than two people like in a squabble. This is much bigger than that. It's much worse than that. So yeah, I just wanted to check this out and see what the insane clown news for.
Okay, just a second. So we're gonna go back to Tyler in a second. So Doug Ford, I think I find myself disagreeing more with him than I find myself agreeing with him. But he's done a great job, in my humble opinion, representing Canada. And here he's being super diplomatic, which is great. I mean, my goodness, cheese slipped off the cracker, and all you have to do is call up, and you're a great guy, and so on. Okay, so he's being diplomatic. Probably doesn't mean everything he's saying, but something I find really interesting is that Doug Ford putting his face out all over the place. Here's what I think is going to happen. he's gonna once Pierre Poilievre loses another election or two, he's gonna be out. I'm putting my money on Doug Ford stepping up and running for the Conservative leadership at some point. Doug Ford as prime minister. I don't know. I like Carney and I like what Carney's doing, but I like Doug Ford's cojones. I don't know if I can say the other word on YouTube, but yeah, he's got the ball cojones.
Today was because it seems like anytime there's news concerning the U.S. and Canada, it's negative. Like that seems to be all that what's been happening recently, which is a huge shame. A few months ago or weeks ago, I was getting a little optimistic about like a trade deal between Carney and Trump, and on the flip of a dime, like it seems like everything has gone backwards like 100 times, 100 miles backwards, like just so quickly. Everything has devolved into this. And it's not good to see. So anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts, especially if you're Canadian. Seeing something like this, like hearing your thoughts and what you think about all this would be really cool. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and seeing Canadian things I've never seen before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.
So this has been Pierre Shields from North of MAGA. If you liked this video, please subscribe if you'd like to get more of this type of content, and go play outside.